Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality back with you here today. From the time I record this, I'm recording this on the afternoon of the 16th. This article is from the 15th. I'm going to try to put this out on the 17th, so hopefully it's not too out of date by then. But this article is from the Federalist, and this is about yesterday's wonderful news, that is yesterday being the 15th, that Donald Trump has been fully exonerated by the Durham probe about Russia collusion. So we're going to go into this article from the Federalist because I thought this was pretty interesting, and it's called "Here's Everything the FBI Deliberately Ignored to Get Trump in Russian Collusion Hoax, According to Durham." So this should be a pretty fun little read here. So subheadline says, Durham uncovered several red flags that should have dissuaded the FBI from opening its seriously flawed Crossfire Hurricane investigation. So first, let me know right off the bat what you guys think about the fact that basically this report coming out told us what we already knew, that Trump had nothing to do with it. He was telling the truth the entire time, and yet still there's people out there that are going to say that this was a thing that happened when we know it never was. So let's just get into it, and I'll comment as we go on. So the article says, Special Counsel John Durham released a 306-page report on Monday detailing how Democrat operatives packaged and sold a lie to the all-too-believing Obama administration FBI that former President Donald Trump colluded with Russia to steal the 2016 election. Not cutting that cough out. For more than 6 years now, corrupt corporate media and Democrats have rallied around that allegation as evidence that Trump shouldn't hold office. But Durham's latest report, much like previous investigations into the Russian collusion hoax, once again found that there was no evidence of collusion from the beginning. So that's in italics. So yeah, this is basically a nothing ever happened. This was just never a thing. So it says, indeed, based on the evidence gathered in the multiple exhaustive and costly federal investigations of these matters, including the instant investigation, neither U.S. law enforcement nor the intelligence community appears to have possessed any actual evidence of collusion in their holdings at the commencement of the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. Deep breath. Not cutting that cough out either. Says Durham wrote in the opening pages of his bombshell report, concluding 3 years of investigation. Man, that doesn't even seem like that long, but I guess it was. So embedded tweeter from Sean Davis, who is one of the head honchos here at the Federalist, he wrote more from Durham's 306-page report, which Federalist has obtained. Quote, FBI records prepared by Peter Strzok in February and March 2017 show that at the time of the opening of Crossfire Hurricane, the FBI had no information in its holdings indicating that at any time during the campaign, anyone in the Trump, it says, anyone in the Trump group, I guess, anyone on Trump's side, let's say it, had been in contact with any Russian intelligence officials, end quote. So, yeah, there you go. So the article continues, says, despite repeated smears and pushback from the ruling class and professional hoaxing outlets like the New York Times, yes, I like that it's being called that. That's what it is. Durham uncovered several red flags that should have dissuaded the FBI from opening its seriously flawed, that's in quotes, Crossfire Hurricane investigation into the Trump campaign. That's the word I meant to say. It was above was campaign. But didn't, because the agency was too wrapped up in its hatred for the 2016 Republican presidential candidate. Says throughout the duration of Crossfire Hurricane, facts and circumstances that were inconsistent with the premise that Trump and or persons associated with the Trump campaign were involved in a collusive or conspiratorial relationship with the Russian government were ignored or simply assessed away, Durham continued. Durham says it was confirmation bias at minimum that led to the FBI's years-long malfeasance. It's amazing what confirmation bias can lead to in this country these days, isn't it? Just, that person is not on my side, so if anybody says anything about them that's negative, I'm just going to believe it. I'm just going to take your word for it no matter what. This is where it gets you. So even before the investigation commenced, he noted, many of the people involved expressed their open disdain for Trump, demanded knowledge of when an investigation into Trump would occur, and asserted they would prevent Trump from becoming president. So what this is, folks, is a coup. This was a soft coup against your elected officials. This is a soft coup for you against the government that you were going to choose. Okay, you think your elections are free? Doesn't really seem like it after this, does it? You can still pick the guy to be president, and they can still decide, they being, the government, the FBI, and the CIA as well, that they just don't want him in the office, so we're just going to make up something to frame him. Then you've got the very gullible people on the left and the far left going, oh yeah, we don't like that guy, so it totally happened. And no matter how much he maintains his innocence, and happens to be correct about it, and has been right about, I think, almost everything, that was all the things leveled at the things. I'm not using my words properly. All of the accusations, that's the word I'm looking for, that have been leveled against him. He's been right about all of them. Trump, that is. So let's go back to the article. It says, Deputy Assistant Director for Counterintelligence Peter Strzok, who officially opened Crossfire Hurricane at the direction of Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe, specifically had pronounced hostile feelings toward Trump. And remember, Andrew McCabe works for CNN right now. I don't know what Peter Strzok's doing. I frankly don't give a shit. But Andrew McCabe works for CNN. Wonder if he's going to say anything about this on CNN. I don't know if he has at this point. I haven't seen anything. Article goes on. It says, it was that bias, Durham confirmed, that led the FBI to commit dozens of violations in its Foreign Intelligence Services Court. That's the FISA court, I believe. The Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court applications for searches and surveillance of those close to Trump, especially Carter Page, yeah, it's the FISA thing, who was spied on by the FBI despite 17 material errors and omissions in their application. Good job, FBI. Is there any other reason why you should be torn down? You have the Romans treat you like Carthage. Here's everything the FBI simply ignored or in some fashion rationalized away in order to taint the reputation of their sworn political enemies. So here we go into the actual title of the article. Subheading here says Tavern Talk. Excuse me there. So the FBI says it began its investigation into Trump after Australian officials informed investigators on July 28th, 2016, that George Papadopoulos, an unpaid foreign policy advisor to the Trump campaign, made an offhand comment about Russia and the 2016 election in a tavern conversation. The U.S. government, Durham noted, possessed no verified intelligence reflecting that Trump or the Trump campaign was involved in a conspiracy or collaborative relationship with officials of the Russian government. In fact, Durham says Australian diplomats told FBI officials that Papadopoulos never stated that he had any direct contact with the Russians, nor did he provide any explicit information about an offer of assistance, but that didn't matter to the FBI, which officially began targeting Trump on July 31st of 2016, 3 days after it received the report from Down Under. Good job, FBI. Subheading says a complete lack of corroboration. Not only did the FBI predicate its investigation on hearsay, but Durham says it failed to corroborate the information it received with any other intelligence agency. Oh boy. So this is what we pay you guys for, huh? Is this again, just confirmation bias. Just, he did it. We're going to investigate him for that. Why don't you reach out to somebody else? Maybe they can, nope. They said he did it. He did it. That's it. That's all we need. Article goes on, says, although the Counterintelligence Division did eventually seek information about Papadopoulos, the office found no indications from witness testimony, electronic communications, emails, calendar entries, or other documentation that, at the time, the FBI gave any consideration to the actual trustworthiness of the information that diplomats received from Papadopoulos, an individual whom they described as, among other things, insecure and trying to impress them, Durham warned. Subheading says, hide the evidence. Papadopoulos and Page were among several Trump staffers who made statements to the FBI, I misread that. So they were among several Trump advisors who made statements to FBI confidential human sources that, under normal FBI protocols, would have cleared them from suspicion. Durham said the FBI recorded these statements, but that Crossfire Hurricane investigators failed to make that information known to the department attorneys or to the FISA court. When Crossfire Hurricane investigators finally did provide information, it was only partial and in some instances misleading, as not to let the FISA court cast real doubt on their probable cause assertions, and then ignoring inconvenient leads. Durham says the FBI not only excluded key exculpatory information, but also failed to pursue investigative leads that were inconsistent with their theory of the case. So if somebody said, so we're going back to the whole example of like, we just believe he did it wrong, or he did bad thing. Bad guy did bad thing. And then when someone says, no, bad guy did not do bad thing, I have proof. They're just like, no, we don't want to know about your evidence that might prove our theory wrong. Go away. Good job. Again, good job, FBI. So this specifically affected Page, about whom Durham says the FBI failed to follow logical investigative leads about his recorded denials of having any relationship with Paul Manafort, a fact about which there was available evidence. Again, I will say it. Good job, FBI. You're doing great work here. This is why we believe in you. Subheading says one-sided story. Says on September 23rd, 2016, Michael Isikoff published an article in Yahoo News alleging that Page had meetings with Igor Sechin, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but there you go, a chairman of a Russian energy conglomerate, and Igor Divyekin, a senior official in the Russian presidential administration. It was undersigned by a well-placed Western intelligence source, now thought to be Christopher Steele, who we all know from this thing, and a senior U.S. law enforcement official. The article contained information that was nearly identical to the Steele report, Durham noted. Yet, when Page wrote FBI Director James Comey offering to be interviewed about this report, the FBI chose to spy on him instead. Yet again, Good job, FBI. You guys are just doing a bang-up job here. Subheading, Strong as Steel. So the FBI was able to spy on Page, a U.S. citizen, because it used the completely unvetted and uncorroborated Steele dossier as the basis for its flawed FISA applications. Durham said the Crossfire Hurricane investigators had determined that there were major conflicts between the reporting of Steele and his primary subsource, Igor Danchenko, but incredibly failed to resolve them. Not only did the FBI take Steele's shaky word as fact, but investigators never questioned him about his leak to Yahoo News, which essentially accused Carter Page of colluding with the Russians. Instead, investigators demonstrated a willingness to contort the plain language of the article to suggest it was not Steele, but Steele's employers who had given the information to Isikoff. Additionally, Durham found that at no time before, during, or after the Crossfire Hurricane did the FBI corroborate a single substantive allegation in the Steele reporting. So this is them going, yep, there was nothing here at all. Subheading, says the Igor issue. Steele primarily relied on an unnamed primary subsource, now known to be Russian national Igor Danchenko, to create his dossier. The FBI and other investigations would try to vet a source like Danchenko. Instead, in a complete failure, the FBI never even bothered to look into the serious counter-espionage issues surrounding Danchenko. So we're going back to my example. It's like, oh, we have a bad guy did bad thing. Okay, well, we have someone that could... we have somebody here that you might want to actually talk to about that, except there might be, and someone goes like, well, there might be serious problems with them. And they're like, nah, we don't need to worry about that. Just go ahead and just keep plowing forward. So subheading says, the closed Clinton loop. Says the Clintons' fingerprints were all over the Russian collusion hoax from the start, but the FBI once again brushed that off. It's basically like the murderer handing you the weapon and saying, I did it, here's a photograph of me doing it, and the video camera footage. And the FBI is just like, oh, well, we like you, so we're just going to say it wasn't you. We're just going to, it just wasn't you. So, article goes on, says the FBI leadership essentially disregarded the Clinton plan intelligence, which it received at almost the exact same time as the Australian Paragraph 5 information Durham outlined. This was despite the fact that at precisely the same time as the Clinton plan intelligence was received, 1, the Clinton campaign made public statements tying DNC computer hack to a Russian attempts to get Trump elected. 2, the FBI was receiving the Clinton campaign-funded Steele reports. And 3, the Clinton campaign-funded Alpha Bank allegations were being prepared for delivery to the media and the FBI. So a whole bunch of weird shit was happening at the exact same time. How utterly convenient that was. And once again, the FBI just went, la 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 la, with their fingers in their ears, la la la, I can't hear you, la la la, whatever. So, subheading, double standard. Says there was evidence that one presidential campaign operative had ties to the Kremlin, but he didn't work for Trump. Despite the fact that the FBI received information in October of 2016 about Charles Dolan, a Democrat operative with ties to the Clintons, who also possessed significant ties to Russian government figures who would appear in the Steele reporting, he was mysteriously never interviewed. Oh, so look, it's projection by someone on the left, namely the Clintons, that, it's basically, hey, we were doing the exact thing we were blaming your guy for. How about that? So article continues, says, unlike the FBI's opening of a full investigation of unknown members of the Trump campaign based on raw, uncorroborated information, in this separate matter involving a purported Clinton campaign plan, the FBI never opened any type of inquiry, issued any taskings, employed any analytical personnel, or produced any analytical products in connection with the information, Durham noted. And that's the end of the article. So I will repeat for the final time here. Great job, FBI. You guys killed it on this one. So how does everybody else feel about this? Essentially, your federal investigative body decided that they were going to ignore evidence that this never happened, and they were going to say that we don't like this presidential candidate so much that we're going to go around the will of the people, and we're going to try to get this man removed from office. This was a coup. In my opinion, every single person involved in this should be tried for treason and face the death penalty. I know it's harsh, but I'm sorry, I don't have anything else to say about it other than that. Like, your life should be on the line for this. This was a coup attempt. This was like an actual coup attempt, okay, against this gentleman right here. And I don't know how this is going to play into what happened in 2024, but you can bet your ass up until then, if Trump wins the primary, you're going to hear people, and even if he wins it, up until the election, you're going to hear people probably still bringing this up as like he was a Russian asset, even though it's been completely debunked. And not to, I'm going to throw shade at Jake Tapper because he came out and said something effective like, well, Trump hasn't been totally exonerated. I was like, no, he has. This is done. We're done. There's nothing else. It's over. Okay, he has been completely exonerated. And you're seeing a lot of people on the left, go watch MSNBC for the last couple days, after this came out. They're coping really hard with this. And they're using basically any excuse they can to explain why, no, they couldn't possibly be wrong about this, and no, Trump is still a Russian agent, and no, it's done. You lost. Okay? You guys get a big fat L over your stupid little heads, and you need to deal with it. This is another reason not to trust the media. They don't give a shit about you. Don't go to mainstream media. Go find out stuff on your own. Go to places that you trust, and I would suggest probably don't go to any left-wing website or news organization, because they are invested in lying to you. Okay? And if you're going to keep doing it, that's on you. But let me know what you guys think about this entire situation, not just this article or not just me talking about it, but about just the whole situation in its entirety. What you thought about it. Did you ever believe Trump did anything wrong? I certainly never did. Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.